My name's Nyesha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
All right, my name is Taylor Leak. I'm the Communications Director for the Working Families Party, and I am here with two of our candidates for Hartford City Council. We have Josh Blanchfield and Levey Kardulis. Josh is a middle school teacher here in Hartford, and Levey is the head custodian at Bulkley High School. So welcome to both of you.
Thanks, Taylor.
Start off just asking you guys to tell me a little bit about yourselves. I'll start with Levey.
Lifelong resident in the city of Hartford, born on 81 Earl Street, second floor. I've been working for Hartford Public Schools now for the last 25 years. Currently, I am the head custodian at Bulkley High School since 2011. I was the first and only black union president to represent the custodians, tradesmen, and food service workers for the district. I have 7 children. 6 of them live here in Hartford. 2 have already graduated high school, Ramses and Youssef, and Noah graduates this year from Hartford High, Leah next year from JMA. The twins are still in Annie Fisher, and Isaiah goes to Highcrest Elementary School in Wethersfield.
Great. And Josh, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. Let's see. First of all, I'm a teacher at Annie Fisher STEM Magnet, where Levey's kids go. I've taught his children.
Yes.
We're a big Annie Fisher family, and we're proud of it.
Tigers.
So I teach 7th grade geography and 8th grade U.S. history. And I've been there for about 6 years, and previous to that, I was at Hartford High. I am very active in the Teachers Union, Hartford Federation Teachers. I'm a proud teacher and union activist. I'm also a vice president for the Greater Hartford Central Labor Council. And I'm also one of the infamous Scarborough 11. I live in that house with 10 other folks, so 8 adults and 3 kids. And I'm a proud father of 2 of those children, and I'm married to Julia Rosenblatt, who runs Heartbeat Ensemble, our local theater company here in town.
Great. So Josh, why do you want to be on City Council?
Well, Taylor, I've been an active member of Hartford's neighborhood campaigns and activism since I was actually a student at the University of Hartford. I studied history at the University of Hartford, and really the event that changed me was when Aquan Salmon was killed, 14-year-old unarmed black boy, killed in the North End by the HPD. And that event sort of shook my world because I'd been focused on the global stuff, anti-war and stuff like that, but the struggles were right here down the street. And from that point forward, I've been active in numerous campaigns in the city. And over these years, I've come to see that we haven't had a voice in city government, a voice for the neighborhoods. And so I see this as an opportunity, along with Levey and Wildelise Bermudez and Dr. Larry Deutsch and Cynthia Jennings, the 5 of us for the Working Families Party, to finally have a bridge between the neighborhoods and city government, because the neighborhoods have been cut out for too long. And it's time for us to have a force in city government that's actually still connected to the neighborhoods. And that hasn't happened since People for Change, going back since the mid and late 80s. And that lack of connection to the neighborhoods really is typified by the closed door, the secretness of these last few years of city government. Everything from stadium debacles, numerous now, not just one, and this sort of closed off idea. And we need to bring the neighborhoods back to city government.
Definitely.
Awesome. And Levey, how about you? Why do you want to be on City Council?
Well, I've chose to run for City Council because I got fed up with what's been going on downtown. I got involved with the union after 17 years of being a custodian because my union didn't properly represent me through some issues that should have never happened. And I was so fed up, I ran for union president and won. And when I became the union president, I started seeing more of the political side of the city of Hartford. I'd always been a youth advocate. I coached at Sands Elementary, or Sands Everywhere Elementary. We won back-to-back championships there. Then I started Annie Fisher basketball program and cheerleading program when Mrs. Richardson and Mrs. Morris, two awesome administrators, were at Annie Fisher. We did so much with the league when I started running the league, and it just expanded. We had 10 elementary schools to start. We grew it to 22. We were giving turkeys away with Jim Calhoun and Gino R.E.M., and I loved it. But one of the things, like Josh was talking about, what kind of focused everything in was the unfortunate murder of my nephew, who, he was my nephew by title, but that was my little brother. He lived in my house, from the time we were both young kids. And when Melvin got murdered, December 30th, 91, my brother also was shot in the incident. Wrong place, wrong time. My mom is sitting in the car. That night, that event, not just that night, but that event just changed the filter on my lens. And my brother Tony and I, we established the MAC Foundation, the Melvin Anthony Kardulis Foundation, to help young students through the arts for anti-violence. And my career in Hartford I've been working for Hartford Schools for 25 years. It just kept rolling. It evolved from coaching to running the league to the violence prevention. Then it moved into the realm of the union leadership. And a few things I did as the union president, the first thing I noticed was how corrupt our local was. The E-Board was getting checks for 30 plus years. I put a stop to that because there's going to be integrity to the money that anyone around me is going to put into their pocket. So we're going to do it right. We're going to represent the membership and move forward. And we're going to cut out that corruption. And still to this day, that piece of corruption is definitely still gone out of my old local, the Local 566, part of AFSCME.
Great. You're running for Hartford City Council. You guys are both really connected to the city. So tell me, one major problem you see in the city and one thing that sort of gives you hope that you really love about Hartford. Start with you, Josh.
Well, just 2 weekends ago now, we experienced an event where thousands of people were drawn to the city. Yeah. And it was in the middle of our crown jewel park, Keeney Park. And that event had nothing to do with sports or athletics or stadiums or public money being dumped into private hands. It was Nightfall, the amazing Nightfall, which has become really the hallmark event of this season. And just the spirit of community that we experienced and what Ann Cumberly and her performers are able to create for our city is something that we need to put more energy into. And yet, for so many years now, our energy has gone into downtown and the catering to people who will come from far away to somehow spend all their wealth in our downtowns. And yet, we have such amazing culture within our own city that does not get the support that it deserves. So that's sort of the flip side of the same coin, where we have so much culture that needs to be supported by our city government, and yet all our energy is going into creating these, meccas to draw in suburban support when our own neighborhoods have these amazing offerings that are just as deserving and far more representative of our communities.
Absolutely. Levey, same question. What's one big problem you see and one thing that really gives you hope?
First, I got to piggyback off of Josh and Nightfall because, met some amazing people that night. We talk about people coming from outside of Hartford into Hartford, not downtown, Vine Street. We're right on Vine Street, across from Westland, notorious area of the city of Hartford. And I met people that night from outside of Plymouth, Massachusetts, Cheshire, Connecticut, Simsbury, Connecticut, Windsor, Bloomfield. We need to continue to have that and support the arts. And my son was one of those performers, Youssef, which was awesome. But one issue, and it's always the biggest issue with me, I know we could talk about violence all day, but why is there violence? There's violence because there's nothing going on in our school district. The lack of comprehensive after-school programs, the lack of youth athletics, something that I take so much pride in. There was a time when you could come down to Warmy Street during the football season, during the early fall, and you had midget football. You had all the neighborhoods of Hartford at Cope Park, all of them, with little kids playing football, regardless if people like football or not, with the Heads Up program that's going on, which I think is awesome. But we had everyone out there, and that's gone. And my focus is, my position is, if we take our kids right away and start molding them into what we want them to be, the violence is going to naturally start going down, because you're going to have less of the what I classify as those knucklehead type students or kids out there in the streets. You're going to have less kids out there trying to rob and steal and sell drugs and everything else, because we're giving them other tools, not just sitting them in a classroom for double sessions and assessments and all of this stuff that any adult would go crazy with, let alone a child. So we need to put more in place. We need to address, like Josh was saying, our neighborhoods and our neighborhood schools that are just being left behind. Out of every corner, we're not addressing that particular issue, and that's what I see in the forefront.
Great. So, Josh, what would your top priorities be if you got elected to City Council?
Sure. I think the thing we would need to focus on are the people that have been totally cut out of the conversation. I'm talking about the poor of Hartford, the homeless, the working class, and especially the renters. Our renter community in Hartford is the vast majority of all our residents are renters, and nobody talks about the issues of renters. And from renters, the conversation needs to go to this class of individuals who extract the wealth from our communities, and those are the absentee landlords. The not just out of town, but out of state absentee landlords of our communities who are literally stealing from the vast majority of our residents. And I think about the constant fights that our renters, our residents of Hartford have to face. Daily struggles of just getting dumpsters emptied by these landlords, or getting anything fixed, or the heat turned on. We've been involved, our slate, Wildleys Bermudez, Levey and I, and Dr. Larry Deutsch and Cynthia Jennings. The stories that come to us from all over the city of the struggles of renters against these absentee landlords. Right now, I think about 4 through 40 Vine Street, okay? 15 years ago, the corner of Albany and Vine was one of the most infamous areas in the city. And because of the righteous fights of women like Hattie Harris, that corner is now a shining example of what can happen in our city. 4 through 40 Vine Street is now totally rehab housing. It's beautiful, it's amazing. But even now, the corporation that runs it, which is in Braintree, Massachusetts, has gone out of its way to ignore the residents. Right? This just opened a year ago, and the residents have been fighting tooth and nail to get any responsiveness from this corporation, and having to once again, not just years ago it was taking on the drug dealers. Now they got to take on their own landlords, who was supposed to turn this whole thing around, right? Mm-hmm. And we can't let that slip back to what it was. And so it's pretty amazing seeing the residents once again standing up for themselves. And yet, city government is totally unresponsive. At the same time, you look at our case of the Scarborough 11, where the city was able to mobilize every aspect of its bureaucracy to try to throw us out of a house that had been abandoned. Right? The priorities of our city are totally out of whack. And our slate of 5 is going to be a chance of finally turn that around and bring back the issues of the residents where they belong in city government.
Absolutely. Levey, how about you? What would be your 1 or 2 top priorities if you got elected to City Council?
Well, I touched upon the kids, and addressing the neighborhood schools, making sure we get our kids into proper after-school programs and youth athletics, And the other big piece is we got to address the families. There's not enough people in the city of Hartford that are making livable wage jobs. They need livable wages. You need proper health care, like Josh and I both have. You need to make sure, what I always say is union employees spend more time with their kids because you're not having to go out and work 2 and 3 different jobs. So it's utterly important for me to get Hartford working again, Hartford's current residents working. And through that, we're going to have more parents that are going to be spending more time with their children so they could come to Coat Park or Kinney Park, watch their child play football or basketball. We need to develop the volleyball program for our young girls, the softball program for our young girls, because far too often the young ladies are being ignored. They're not having enough programs to keep them busy as well. So my top 2 priorities are the kids, the neighborhood schools, and jobs. Getting people working in Hartford and coming up with a plan to get industry, manufacturing, retail to Hartford. And so it's a couple steps that you have to do. And I believe the city, we need to look at offering the best deal ever for city employees to put them in a home inside the city and get us living back in the city. Now we keep that money inside the city. We bring up the IQ of the city is what I always talk about. We bring down the property taxes, bring down the mill rate. Now we start becoming more attractive to manufacture, to retail, start putting even more people to work. And so then you'll see a natural progression of people caring about their community, caring about their neighborhood, not throwing the trash out on the ground when, every week they come and they pick it up. But we have to start building that piece because that piece is just non-existent, it seemed like, in many of our neighborhoods. And to talk about Josh and the Scarborough 11, here's a town, once you take the parksway and the insurance companies away, Hartford's about 12 square miles, very small. And in Josh's neighborhood, families can't live together in one house. And you come to Frog Hollow, we have multiple families living in the same house. And to me, it doesn't make any sense. If the family's in the house, then the family's in the house.
That's the reality of our residents.
Yeah,
right? That's how our city exists.
Yeah.
And our city has claimed that is criminal now.
Yeah, and it makes no sense because they're not running down the Lincoln Street in Frog Hollow talking about all the families that are living together in their houses. So, I just find it, we got to stop that. This is gone beyond ridiculous.
Absolutely. So, Josh, what strengths would you bring as a council person to the city council?
I think one of my strengths is, first of all, being a public school teacher here in Hartford. I honestly can't remember the last teacher who was on city council. It's been a long time now. And so that understanding the realities, and also from my years of activism and our whole slate, we've developed a relationship with so many groups across the city that there are so many issues and platforms and specific policy initiatives that have been created among the different campaigns across our city. This is finally an opportunity, not just to bring attention to them, but actually enact them. I'm thinking of numerous platforms, like Black Lives Matter has a legislative platform for municipal government that was developed for Hartford. It's our local Black Lives Matter. I'm thinking of Hartford Rising's Community Bill of Rights, finally enacting that. Not just, signing off and say, hey, that's a great thing, but actually enacting policy and carrying it out. I'm thinking of the Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender Task Force platform, which has far-reaching policy initiatives for the city of Hartford. The Homeless Bill of Rights. I mean, these is work that's been going on for years that with our slate of 5 is finally going to get not just into City Hall, but the absolute real final chance of actually being passed. Because we've been listening as a city far too long to the developers and outside money, right? And this is where we are because of that. We need to put our ear back to the residents because they've been screaming and we haven't been listening.
Absolutely. Levey, how about you? What strengths do you think you'd bring to City Council?
Wow. Several different strengths, but I think my number one strength would be the passion that I have for the city, and the passion that I have to to make Hartford a better place. With this team together with Josh and Will DeLeese, Cynthia and Larry, where we could take Hartford and bring it to a new level. I've said at several events that we've been at, there's no reason why Hartford shouldn't be the second best city in New England. And I'm serious about that. Boston is Boston. You got the Patriots and the Celtics and the Red Sox and all of that kind of stuff. But Providence and Stanford are touchable. But we just have to have people here who really care about the city, who have passion about our town, to get Hartford to move forward. And I believe with the team that we have assembled right now under the Working Families Party, we could definitely move forward. We don't have any special interest in someone whispering in the background, hey, we could do this and we could do that for you. No, not for me, for us as a city. So I come in, my passion, my diligence, my hard work ethic to make things happen. Because as a head custodian, I need results. I need things to happen now, not sit around and wait. And I call it, it's the Alabama mud. I'm not interested in Alabama mud where my car is in the mud and the tires are just spinning and it's sinking deeper and deeper, because that's where we're at right now. I'm interested in making things happen with our team of the Working Families to take Hartford and put Hartford on a plateau where Hartford hasn't been in many, many years, and start really working hard for the city. Like I said, I've been working 25 years for the city of Hartford, and I'm ready to continue my hard work ethic in City Hall. And Josh was saying he can't remember the last time a teacher has been in City Council. I don't think there's ever been a custodian such as myself, and I'm a different kind of custodian.
Golden Broom.
Yeah, the Golden Broom. I came up with the Golden Broom Award at Burns, so kids would take pride in their personal space. And parents flocked to the school. At first, I thought I was in trouble. I thought, I was like, oh man, I did it now. But they loved it. They loved it, and it caught fire. It caught so much fire. Eddie Perez shows up, and he's like my homeboy. That's what he would call me. What can we do? And I'm like, roll up your sleeves. And you got to help us serve pizza and snacks and everything, because I had a little fun together, and we did that. And we could expand the Golden Broom. It could be the Golden Street Award, the Golden Neighborhood Award, where we have residents who are living in their communities that are taking pride in their communities, and maybe put change the street sign, and instead of it being white, it's gold for a month or something. But I'm interested in putting that on the table. I believe in teamwork. So that's something you put in the table and you kick it around to everybody until it creates substance, and let's move forward and start cleaning up our town. And like I always say, we need a head custodian to help clean up this town. and here I am.
We're going to start with City Hall.
Start right there, 550 Main.
That's great. So you guys have both been out knocking on doors for several weeks now. What are you guys hearing from residents? What are their concerns? What's on their minds? Josh, start with you.
I would characterize one word: dismay. We every day, it feels like, and it could be literal, that there's another revelation of secret deals, another revelation of public monies disappearing, and zero accountability. And I think the word transparency has been said so many times in relation to our city government that there's no meaning to it anymore, because those who are carrying out the duplicitous actions are the same ones calling for transparency. And so that fundamental dismay of our residents with how city government has been running these last years is overwhelming. And they're looking for a clean sweep, right? And we are that new slate, the five of us, that represent a real 180-degree turn, a change in the way things have been operating, because we have no tolerance for that. And Levey's work within his own union and exposing corruption, right, is the most direct parallel like he's done it, right? He's lived it. And that same sort of, oh, once we're in power, we can do whatever we want. That mentality has been so prevalent in our city government that we're proven fighters of exposing that and undoing it and making right.
Levey, how about you? What have you been hearing from folks on the doors?
When I knock it on doors, people are fed up. People are fed up. You know, they're fed up with the conditions of the city. In the neighborhoods, they're fed up with being ignored by downtown. You know, the West End and specifically downtown trumps all the other neighborhoods. And people are just fed up. They're sick and fed up. I don't want to use the word tired because, you know, we're ready to work. Tired implicates as if we're not ready to work. We're ready to work. And what I'm hearing from a lot of the residents, from many of the residents, is their dismay with how in that City Hall has become and how they just ignore the neighborhoods and the neighborhood schools. And that's what I'm hearing plenty from the residents of the city of Hartford, is that they're fed up and they want to move forward. You know, how many guys, you know, when I'm door knocking, I speak to everyone walking down the street as well. And how many guys want to work? They're like, how can I work? And I'll give them a little pre-screening because I know how the board screens everyone. And I'm like, there's no reason why you shouldn't be working. You know what? And I give them my card. You call me at Buckley. I'll help you with the application. You could come down during my lunchtime. I will show you on the computer, and then you could save it, and then you could go to Trenfo or the public library, and you could get back on. You could access your information and finish that application. Because the outside application now, I know for you guys it must be like 4 hours. For non-certified, it's 2 hours. You know, so they're asking a lot of questions and everything now, and people want to get back to work, and it's not happening. And because I'm in the union, and I have, you know, I don't want to call myself the whistleblower. I have been targeted big time, and I see exactly why our city residents aren't getting these jobs. And I tell you right now, with this slate and me being in there, with these guys, with Josh, with Wilderlease, with Larry, with Cynthia, we'll be putting Hartford back to work and livable wage jobs, preferably union jobs, because unions aren't the problem. It's that upper management. It's the how many levels, how many bosses you have. I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing now with portfolios and building managers and chiefs and assistants and specialists, and I'm confused. So my thing is, I answer to my principal. I keep it simple.
Makes sense to me. We only have a couple minutes left, so each of you give me sort of your final thoughts. Josh?
Sure. I just want to speak to the voters real quickly. I'm a history teacher, so Civics 101 real quickly. So when you go into the polling place on November 3rd, you will have 6 options. You have 6 votes to cast for city council, okay? The way it works is that you're going to see a bunch of rows and all the different candidates for city council. There are 14 candidates for city council, and you can cast 6 votes for out of those 14. So there are 5 of us running for the Working Families Party. So you tick off row C for Working Families Party, and then you got 1 left, and you can cast that any way you like. But remember, on November 3rd, you're going to go to your polling place, and you're going to vote row C, and you got 1 vote left after you vote for the 5 of us. Josh Blanchfield, Levey Kardulis, Wilderlease Bermudez, Dr. Larry Deutsch, and Cynthia Jennings. So please make sure that you go vote on November 3rd. It's the first Tuesday of November.
I'm going to echo that sentiment of November 3rd. We cannot forget, because that's another thing that comes up when you're door knocking. A lot of people think the election already happened, and it didn't, because they got it confused with the primary. We got to get out there. We got to represent. We got to make this count. This is the most important election in many years. Forever, I was a Democrat. I stirred the pot with Eddie Perez, with Pedro Sagada, with Dr. Kishimoto, Dr. Adamowski. I stirred the pot hard. I knew that the Democrats would never nominate me. I've done so much work with the working families from the time I became the union president, and I learned about the working families, and I realized I am that. I'm the working families. Exactly what I do. I have my family. I get up, I go to work every single day. This is what it's all about. So on November 3rd, if we're voting row A only, we're going to continue in that same cycle. We're not going to break it. We have to come, we got to go to row C for change, for courage, whatever we want to call it. But it's going to be row C for us to move forward on November 3rd. So come on out, make it count.
Thank you guys for coming. Thanks everyone for joining us.
Thank you, Taylor, for coming down
Thanks,
here.
Taylor.
Absolutely. And if you guys would like to get involved in our campaign, you can call our field manager, and his number is 860-639-8101. Thanks a lot.